Welcome to what I'm calling the Compendium of Non-Human Visitations. Before we begin, I want to be upfront with you so that you know the path you're about to walk down. This video series, or Compendium, has a single objective and will remain that way. That is to provide discovery and analysis of historical accounts, evidence, and testimonials concerning visitation between humanity and non-humans. The purpose or reason of this project is to provide corroborated corollaries of data to form irrefutable conclusions concerning the non-human visitations phenomenon. Breaking down the objective more distinctly, the discovery purpose of the objective is to simply find, reveal, or otherwise provide a retelling of events, evidence, testimony, and beliefs associated with the thousandfold aspects of the phenomenon. The analytic purpose of the objective is to avoid all speculation and maintain focus on informational bona fides, misdirection mechanisms, disinformation paradigms, and evidence that meets admissibility standards under U.S. law. Now, how this will be executed is through a system of inductive portions. What I mean by that is we'll go from smaller contextual-based evidence and extrapolate the analyzed data into what I constructed as a compendium architecture algorithm. This architecture basically stabilizes information into compartments, then re-extracts the information through the algorithm, which provides a raw analytic picture to further cross-reference and investigate to form the analytic conclusions. The compendium, for simplicity's sake, is broken down into categories which focus on the biological, technological, spiritual, psychological, and transdimensional datum or nature of the non-human visitation phenomenon. Hopefully, this monumental effort and the ridiculous amounts of data subjective to the execution of the objective and purpose will present 1. Sufficient corollaries to form conclusions for further research and peer review. I told you I'm not interested in speculation, so we're looking for sufficient corollaries. 2. It will present conclusions of evidence which clear the field of clutter for further research where information gaps may present themselves. And 3, will present evidence of systemic, be it deliberate or accidental, misrepresentation of the data so people seeking real truth are no longer deceived by well-meaning presentations related to the phenomenon. Now, back to the objective and purpose. As I apply my analytic algorithms through the data, as far as they've been able to be researched, I discovered that I need others to further test, research, and peer review my work. I need you. I need others, so that operative conclusions may be further delineated and drawn. Unfortunately, not many are willing to put their reputations on the line or their time into this discovery and analytic process. So that brings us to the data. The data is the information which you are being presented with and that you see. That data, that information is derived from other references, scientific research papers, academic peer-reviewed journals, and in some rare cases from facts we have come to understand as true. Unfortunately, those facts can be relative, relying on perception, reasoned as fact until other information proves contrary, or utterly philosophical in value. That brings us into a realm of belief and faith. And before you discount it, many scientists believed and had faith that flight was impossible for man, that speeds over 60 miles an hour would implode the internal organs of man, and that leeches cure disease. That wasn't something said from a pulpit either. Those were scientists. Now, I don't want any of that to take away from anyone's beliefs and ideas. Rather, What this production seeks to do is to clarify what we think we know. It will reveal the esoteric, the hidden, and expose what we have been told and provided with answers that we may not desire. In short, it provides data, analyzes it, and forms conclusions, which any may peer review. That process is also called the scientific method, so don't be offended by it, please. My philosophy on this hope, those things which I just talked about as the things I want, is simple. Truth is pure. It's not subject to change. It cannot be manipulated, and often encompasses more than the natural, material world we can measure, theorize about, and quantify. So, before we begin this journey of non-human visitations, there are things you need to know about me so that no one may accuse me of having a hidden agenda. I believe on and in Jesus. I am a Christian, and I maintain a worldview and belief system that many call Christianity. And yes, I screw it up daily, but that's for another discussion. So yes, of course I'll be asking you to make a choice for God sometime during the video or at the conclusion. I don't know. But let me be clear. No amount of narration, clandestine messaging, or lecture of evidence-based analysis is going to convince you of what I think. I would be a fool to think that. That choice I will eventually ask you to make is accepting the reality of God, that Jesus died and rose again for your sin, my sin, and everyone else's sin, so that we could be saved from judgment concerning our sins. This choice is a matter between you and God. Now with that, I promise I'm not going to beat anyone up on the issues and tenets of the Christian belief system and that of salvation. But I will remain cognizant of it and simply ask you to keep an open mind. If what is presented is something you don't want to hear, the off button is available to you. All I can really promise is to be a good friend, tell you what I believe when it's appropriate, and provide you with intellectual honesty. So with that, here's something else you need to know. I am also a retired counterintelligence agent of 21 years. I am highly trained in analytic, investigative, and other, quote, intelligence techniques. So you will be getting the benefit of my, quote, skills. Feel free to check me on any and all information you get from this series. This production is free. It is open, and it is subject to peer review. As much as possible, we will discover both sides of the story concerning non-human visitations. To be honest, you may not like the answers we come to, but more, I may not like the answers we come to. That is the point of discovery, and why discovery and analysis are the twofold focus of this production's objective. The answers we discover, no matter how much I could argue them, may well likely conflict with my worldview, my learned conditioning, my presumptions, and my belief system. But I'm okay with that, and I hope you will be too. Now, here is something new to the fields of the esoteric, ufology, and religious belief systems. Full disclosure. What I mean by that is this. In this video series, you are not the choir, and I'm not going to preach to you. I have viewed literally thousands of still images, videos, and various other measurements information. Being a retired agent really helps me with the time to devote to this subject matter, and while most of what I've read and seen and analyzed is raw data that is previously unassessed for its relevancy to some end user's goals and purpose, what I have witnessed are thousands of presentations that take this same raw information, encapsulate it into a hidden premise, and preach to a choir of people that want to believe something. I have seen this on the religious side. I've seen this on the secular side, the esoteric side. Basically, almost anything people touch, there is more often than not a bias and an intention to profit from it in some way. I get it. People are people, and people want to be liked, want to be rich, want to be famous, want to be noticed, and want to be happy. People also want information to validate what they already know, suspect, or believe. It's not an abnormal thing. Besides the rare few, people are just people. This production is not presented to sway a person's reasoning of what they understand. This production is provided in a full disclosure mode. I am not interested in debunking anything. Debunking is not what I'm saying full disclosure means. In my opinion, debunking is exclusively biased. It attempts to validate the debunker's worldview and their understanding of information they believe. Debunking is also offensive. It's arrogant at times, and it sure doesn't encourage. I have not yet witnessed a loving debunking, but I have been lovingly rebuked more than a few times. People know the difference between a loving word and empathy from someone and that of a debunking presentation that basically comes off as, hey, you're stupid because you don't think like I think. I mean, who wants that, right? So, to the best of my ability, and from any insight and feedback you and others provide, I promise that the information on the non-human visitations phenomenon that we discover and analyze will be clean from deception, disinformation, misdirection, and a debunking theme. The Non-Human Visitations Compendium production is intended and promised to be a resource for further investigation, research, and peer review. Oh yeah, one last alibi. Upon your request from an email to me at WarpigPresents@gmail.com, I will make available to you all my notes and research written for each video in this production. These notes additionally contained all the references and attributions from which I drew to create this series. I can't promise when I will release notes to you after I get your email, nor can I promise release dates on further videos in the series. I mean, life happens, right? But I can promise that when the production is complete, the entire compendium with notes, scripts, categories, parts, chapters, sections, and subsections will be available, free and open to sharing. I'm tired of paying for information or something that everyone should have, aren't you? So with that said, let's get into it. The discovery and analysis of historical accounts and testimonials concerning interactions between humanity and non-humans.